Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I thought I might flip through one of these Smithsonian magazines just for a little relaxation. A quick update on the, wow, that was liquidy, on the cat water fountain that I bought. Cooper is scared of it. And I kept it out for, I think, like 4 days, and he just won't have any part of it. So I'm returning it. It worked okay, although I'm not sure ever quite that the sensor, it seemed like overly sensitive. But it was just scaring Cooper. So I'm back to the old water bowl. I'm going to try to shoot a few videos today, probably to upload for, I'm going on a vacation, so we'll see. But I thought maybe we could look through one of these Smithsonians. Well, let's just look at this one. What's this one? It is from October of 2022. What does this say? Scientists probe the mysteries of smelling. Utah's Glen Canyon rebirth of a lost wonder. J.R.R. Tolkien's haunted vision of Middle-earth. The noble fury of Samuel Adams. And there's Sammy. A bold new view of the forgotten founder. Oh yeah, I remember this because I was like, forgotten. We all know Sam Adams. On the trail of Lewis and Clark. On this, I wonder about this American cruise line. I don't know if they're very good or not, but this would be an interesting trip, wouldn't it? You go from Lewiston, Clarkston, you go through down the river and you follow, and I assume they have educational things. I bet that's expensive. Smithsonian, table of contents, okay. The Golden Isle. What's the Golden Isle? The world is discovering what us Georgians have cherished for generations, the Golden Isles. So this is the coastline in Georgia. Looks nice. Is this the discussion? I kind of like to look at this. Okay, let's see. What are they discussing? Croatian destination. A way to Istria was a thoughtful delve into a part of our planet I knew little about. I am not sure which intrigued me more, Tito's parrot or the discovery of Danse Macabre. I don't know what we're talking about. Maybe these aren't what I was thinking of. Isn't there like a question? Didn't we do like a question? Maybe that was the vintage science magazine. Maybe I'm getting confused. Prehistoric perfection. Is this like the amber that you can pull DNA and make dinosaurs in Jurassic Park? 44 million year old. Did I say that right? Honey gold Baltic amber. It gives you a glimpse into the fascinating world of prehistoric times. Oh my God. Preservation Hall Jazz Band. I want to go to New Orleans and go see the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. Did you guys watch that Saturday Night Live 50-year, not the comedy one, but the music special? It was only on Peacock for some reason. I don't know why they didn't air it, but it was good. I thought it was real good. And the Preservation Hall Jazz Band played during part of it. They're so fun. I have okay. When I was a kid and my mom and dad took us to New Orleans for the World's Fair, so I don't know what year that was. I've told this story before. But my mom really wanted to see this. And so we went and saw the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. Well, we had done a lot, I will say. It was burning hot weather, and we'd done a lot that day. And my sister, who's a little bit older than me, had a tendency to be very stubborn. And she got it in her head that she did not want to go to this. Well, I was just little, and I wanted to be like her. So the two of us sat there with our arms like folded, like we were so mad to be there. And my mom said she was, first of all, kind of mad at us, but second of all, embarrassed that her two like little towhead blonde girls were sitting there looking so angry and upset about being at this awesome jazz concert. And she ended up having to I don't remember if we left or not, but I just remember being jerks, and I've regretted it every day since. Maybe not every day, but players pose with band leaders. I was probably like 8, by the way. Band leader Sweet Emma Barrett outside Preservation Hall in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1964. I think there was a documentary I watched about. Maybe not. I don't know. If there is one, I'll have to go watch it. Let's see. Iroquois Theater, the Black Vaudeville House, built in 1911, was one of the city's first venues to hold jazz concerts. Like Sax in the City, haha. Lending artistic legitimacy to a genre then more frequently heard in saloons, where music was mainly a backdrop to boozing and socialization. And this says Perseverance Society Hall, 1644 North Villiers Street, opened in 1880. I don't know if it was this, but we went to that place. I don't know if it's the same building. I don't remember. Do they tell us where it is? Anyway, that would be fun to go to. I will do that. That's on my list of things to do. Congo's present and past. The drive for equality. How Florence St. John and her co-workers at General Motors set the precedent for equal pay in the 1930s. Oh, that's interesting. In 1938, there wasn't a job Florence St. John hadn't done in the raucous sheet metal department at the Olds Motor Works in Lansing, Michigan, where around 300 workers at 70 or so behemoth machines punched, drilled, welded, and riveted Oldsmobile parts. If you haven't watched, I have a video on the big 3 automakers that talks about a lot of, not this, but a lot of the history of the American automobile. Because I'm from Detroit. That didn't mean I know anything, but I kind of know a little bit. So it's kind of interesting, I think. I haven't watched that video in a long time. I'll have to check it out again. St. John stepped onto the factory floor for the first time in 1928, joining around 30 other women in the overwhelmingly male trade. The 32-year-old mother of 3 worked elbow to elbow with men, levering heavy presses to bend and cut steel. In the 1930s, managers at the Olds Motor Works, a division of General Motors, treated St. John and other women the same as men in nearly all but one respect: pay. Didn't pay them. That's screwed up. She discovered the pay disparity during games of check pool, a form of poker. Oh, that's funny. See, it used to be very crude to discuss your pay at a job. But I think the real reason that was made to be crude is that there was and there is big disparity between what women are paid and what men are paid. So that's interesting. And also people who have an inside to the company would get paid more. You know, like sons of, cousins of. Time after time, St. John and the other women noticed a pattern. Men on the same shift with similar jobs and less seniority, some of whom the women had trained, appeared to be making more. This curious game of chance would eventually tip the scales at trial and result in the first major damages award in job discrimination case in U.S. history. Lower pay didn't mean lighter loads for the women, who, among other duties, had to drag around huge pans full of car parts weighing up to 200 pounds, often without assistance. If they didn't meet strictly enforced quotas, the men and women knew they would lose their jobs. In the heavy press room, St. John worked with women, including her friend Moretta Cobb, and men, as the workers wrenched together strips of steel to make an elaborate part called a harmonic balancer, a sturdy 5-pound disc that absorbs vibrations that would otherwise damage the engine. That's interesting. In assembling the balancers, the women were themselves equal to men in strength, skill, and grit, as attested to by their male co-workers. There was a sense that they were all in it together. Check Pool eroded this sense by revealing that GM paid men $15 to $20 more per pay period, which in 1930, that's a lot of money. In late 1936, strikes erupted at GM plants in nearby Flint, Michigan, in response to poor working conditions and hundreds of worker deaths. St. John began urging Forrest Brown, her co-worker and union representative, to help the women close the pay gap. Brown repeatedly confronted GM managers with an obscure criminal law that it was a misdemeanor to discriminate in any way in the payment of wages between sexes. Well, this is an interesting story. They used to say, even during, my life in the workforce in the 80s and 90s, that women, because men are the head of household and take care of families, they should be paid more than women. Like, there aren't women who are raising children by themselves or are also head of household like myself, or like, it's such... So, for a while they started to just not hire women for full-time work so they wouldn't have to pay them equal. There's a lot of bullshit that goes on with that kind of stuff. All right, what do we have here? So this is more about it. Okay. And most women had no idea they were being paid less. The change makers. See, this one raised Quaker. I think for some reason the Quakers were big on fighting for equality. It's interesting. I've never really looked into that, but I feel like I see that a lot. I've kind of told this story before about my grandmother. She was in business, and her actual company paid for her to get her I think it was a master's degree. And she got into Harvard and went to Harvard Business School, but they wouldn't let her graduate with a master's degree in business from Harvard because women weren't allowed to have that. So they gave her a degree in education from the women's school. I'm blanking right now. That's near Harvard, instead of her business degree. So that happened. And that was in the probably I would guess the 40s, probably. I should contact Harvard to rectify that. the speeding bullet design that propelled Chuck Yeager into history, breaking the barrier. There's a movie with Sam Shepard that's about this. It's good. Don't be puzzled. Ooh, I bet this would be much too difficult for me. Genre of many club tunes for short. Pop? I don't know. Or is it like EDM? I don't know. For locales for ale sales. Pubs. It's gotta be pubs, right? Maybe I could do this. Anyway, okay. Founding force. Samuel Adams delivered what may count as the most remarkable second act in American life. It was all the more confounding after the first. He was a perfect failure until middle age. He found his footing at 41 when, over a dozen years, he proceeded to answer to Thomas Jefferson's description of him as truly the man of the Revolution. With singular lucidity, Adams plucked ideas from the air and pinned them to the page, layering in moral dimensions, whipping up emotions, seizing and shaping the popular imagination. All right. I really don't know much about him, I guess. If there was a subversive committee, he sat on it. If there was a subversive act, he was somewhere near or behind it. Adams, depicted here in a steel engraving by Alonzo Chappelle, allied himself closely with the Sons of Liberty, a group that fought taxation by the British government. I think this is the 5 American colonists, including a young apprentice, were killed in the incident that would later be known as the Boston Massacre. There were so many desperate accounts of the evening that he could not possibly supply a true one with all the time in the world. Here's the picture of Boston from way back. In 1721, 1 year before this map of Boston was created, there were approximately 94,000 colonists living in Massachusetts, which then included today's Maine. Okay. Here's the common. Samuel Adams' cousin, John Adams, was also a signer of the Declaration of Independence and later served as the second U.S. president. Oh, so Samuel Adams and John Adams were cousins. Two projectiles believed to be extracted from a home following the Boston Massacre are part of the collection of the Massachusetts Historical Society. The evening of March 5th needed a name. Adams appears to have been the first to refer to the skirmish as a horrid massacre. Oh, boy. Wow. Glen Canyon reveals its secrets. I've been here. The current drought reveals lost items from earlier, wetter times, like the sunken boat near Iceberg Canyon. Oh, right. This is 2022. There was a major drought. At dusk, the boats appear in the ghost forest that surrounds us. Blackened tree trunks encrusted with the white coating. I know what it was. Was it Lake Tahoe? That, like, because of the drought, and they found, like, you know, bodies and stuff in there that maybe the mob had sunk. I think there was something like that. These cottonwoods and willow groves are long dead, but amazingly still upright after more than half a century underwater. That is amazing. Their roots must be strong wood. Whoa. Aerial image of Glen Canyon Dam, a concrete arch on the Colorado River. Water levels are at their lowest since the 710-foot dam filled to capacity in early 1980. Whoa. Tropical punch Kool-Aid. A set of like a wrench, a pop top cap, an old folding chair. Revenge of the pop top. Decades-old debris in Willow Gulch along the Escalante River and in the Mocoy Canyon. Houseboats once anchored here when the waters from Lake Powell flooded the canyon. Now the shorelines have receded, revealing such remnants as an ancient lawn chair, a pair of old pliers, a pull tab from an outdated beer can design, and a Kool-Aid can likely dating back to 1970. I don't know about that being 1970, but okay. I guess they know. I remember, I don't know why, but like you didn't want to litter these because people stepped on them and you'd cut your foot because they were sharp. It's aluminum and you pull it off the top of your can and then you had the key, this thing. And so you throw it on the ground, somebody's going to step on it. There were no public trash cans back then because you threw stuff on the ground when you were done. It was called littering, and it was popular. I didn't litter, but people did. But so you would peel that off, this is crazy, and then put it inside the can and drink it. That's what some people did. I'm not saying you should. And then people would accidentally swallow these things. I don't know if that's urban legend, but that's what we were always told, that people would swallow these and it would cut your throat open and kill you. I don't know if that really happened or if that was just... And the other thing that people always said that scares me to this day is if you opened your Coke and a bee went in there and then you drank it, the bee would sting your throat and you'd die. I don't know. But I'm always like looking inside my can like, I don't know. There might be a bee in here. But these things were a hazard, man. They were bad. Nature reasserts. Yeah, nature's amazing. It'll just pop right back. Ooh, look how pretty. Kind of looks like something, doesn't it? Birds and bats darted around, and beavers and bobcats left their mark. Look how beautiful this is. Pretty. I love it out west. I love all this stuff. Roughly 4 miles up Willow Gulch, a large alcove dwarfs hikers. Yeah, look at, they're this big. Oh, it's so awesome. The long submerged formation now rivals any in the Grand Canyon. Wow, the waters were that high and they were that low. That's crazy. I'd be nervous kind of to hike there because if you all of a sudden had rain, it would flood in a hurry, I bet. Some still contain the archaeology of ancient Puebloan rock structures. Where? What are they talking about? These? Is that what they're talking about? Above, a layer cake of sedimentary rock and silt remains after the water retreat. Nearby, Height Marina is stranded hundreds of yards from shore. The boat ramp is one of many now closed until further notice. I can't even see this picture to make out what they're talking about. Tolkien's world, haunted by the approach of another world war, the author of Lord of the Rings created a new story of Middle-earth that few people even knew about until now. No writer in English language has ever created a more complete world than John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. Middle-earth, where his famous stories take place, was meant to be a version of our own world in a forgotten past. Tolkien mapped out elaborate geographies and built richly detailed civilizations. Every work of fantasy that came later, from the Harry Potter novels and Star Wars movies, to games like Dungeons and Dragons, owes a great debt to Tolkien's astonishing imagination and pays homage to it. Yeah, I think that's true. Ooh, look how pretty. It says, Magdalen College, seen from the River Cherwell. Here, Tolkien, a devout Catholic whose faith helped shape his stories, convinced C.S. Lewis to accept Christianity. C.S. Lewis is the one who wrote the Lion. What was it? Not the Lion. Yeah, the Witch in the Wardrobe. The something in the Wardrobe. Oh my God. Never mind. What is this? A piece of early concept art for the Amazon Studios series depicts the grandeur and seafaring culture of Numenor in the second age of Middle-earth. So this is I didn't watch. I don't watch all these. I don't know. I haven't really seen any of them. I saw the very first of the Rings movie. I can't think of it. The Lord of the Rings. But I never saw any of the other ones, and I'm not familiar with this. It was an Amazon series, I guess. I don't know that one. This is The Hill, Hobbiton Across the Water. Okay. So this is pictures from the show, I guess. Wow, they have a lot on this. Tolkien and his wife, Edith, in a 1940 family photo. Their sons, Christopher and Michael, would soon leave to serve in the war. Oh, wow. Scary. Wonder how they fared. Ray of Hope. Conservationists aim to save the giant fish which faces threats from poachers and climate change. It's a reef manta ray. Huh. Look how cool, man. Thing's crazy looking. Sense and Sensibility. From the lab to the art gallery, the latest efforts to understand the fragrant, musky, stinky, and utterly baffling world of smell. Huh. And they have all these different floral, pine, woody, tropical, herbal, citrus, cucumber, burnt, smoky, powdery, buttery, cheesy, roasted, grainy, fermented, sour, coconut, ozone, interesting, sharp, fishy, ammonia, chlorine, plastic, mushroom, earthy. I bet when you get like that new car smell, it's probably plastic. That's part of the smell. Is this like scratch and sniff painting? Andreas Keller, in his gallery, Olfactory Art, Keller takes in a scented painting in an exhibition of works by Luza Gottschalk. Remember those scratch and sniff stickers? That would be kind of funny if you had all this art and everybody's scratching and sniffing. I guess it just smells. You just smell it. I mean, it's kind of interesting because you could paint to look like what a thing, and then you go smell it and see if it smells the way you kind of visualize it, or if it changes the way you view the painting based on that's interesting. Because if this smelled like, sunflowers and grass, you'd probably go, oh, it's pleasant. But then if it smelled like, vomit, you'd look at that and go, oh no, that's very disturbing. That's kind of interesting. Okay, I'm sold. Let's do it. Let's make a gallery like this. Oh my gosh. And I'd totally make everybody wear a thing like this with your schnoz and a hole like that. But I do think that smell is very subjective. Scent. I used to own an art gallery, and I had a pottery bowl, and the artist brought in lavender. Lavender. Dried lavender, and it was filled in the bowl, and it smelled. She had grew it in her garden, and it smelled really pretty. Every time I walked by, I go, oh, that smells nice. And basically, every time any other woman walked by, they'd go, oh, that smells nice. But any man who walked by would go, oh, what's that smell? Like, men didn't like the lavender smell the same way women did. I think that is not a very scientific study, but just something I noticed. I never saw a question and answer. I guess they don't have one. Look, an amber cat necklace. Look, I love cats, but even I wouldn't want that. Boost your testosterone, drive, and peak performance. What are they giving us to drive our testosterone? They don't tell you what's in it. Steel libido, testosterone mega boost. What does it say it is? Powerful to Yeah, they don't tell you. I bet it's B vitamins, some zinc, maybe some fish oil. Maybe they throw in iron, but you have to be careful with iron, especially if you're a man. It can cause stroke and heart attack. To lose sight of Samuel Adams is to lose sight of a man who calculated what would be required to upend an empire. Light and easy sea eagle. Is this a blow up? Yeah, it is. Yeah. We have one we have two, but they work pretty well. Oh, why did ants make it all over the Americas while anteaters are only found in South America? Interesting. As specialized feeders, anteaters, which include the giant anteater, 2 species of Tamundau, and 7 species of silky anteater, must live where ants and termites are super abundant, and nowhere are they more abundant than the tropics. The farther you move away from the tropics, the more ant and termite populations decline, eventually diminishing to the point where they can no longer sustain an anteater. There you go. The Salem witch trials are well known, but were there witch trials elsewhere in the U.S.? I'll have to remember next Halloween to do an episode on vampires in this area. Well, I think it was England too, but people started to believe that there were vampires. The trials in Salem, Massachusetts are widely known because they affected so many people during a brief period. More than 200 accused of practicing witchcraft, 20 of them, 14 women and 6 men, executed during just 4 months in 1692. I have to clear my throat. Hold on. It's weird. I got a frog in my throat. Including 8 on a single day of September 22nd, and another 4 dying in jail. The executions of alleged witches in Salem were the last in what is now the U.S., but they took place in other colonies as well. In Hartford, Connecticut, for instance, authorities hanged 11 people between 1647 and 1662, so predating. Okay. Witch trials and convictions, but no further executions, continued until 1697. In 1878, Salem was back in the news for what seems to be the last witchcraft trial in the nation, although a judge dismissed the charges. Of course, the American experience pales in comparison to what occurred in Europe from the 14th through the 17th century, when authorities executed tens of thousands of suspected witches. Whoa. That's interesting. I don't know. I guess everybody kind of finds that interesting, but it is. Will the James Webb Space Telescope be able to look for evidence that other intelligent life is out there? There are several ways the Webb telescope could detect signs of intelligent life. First, it could study interstellar objects that arrive from outside the solar system to see if they might be extraterrestrial spacecraft. Second, it could search for city lights on the night side of a I can't think of this word. It's so weird. My brain's on a block for how to say habitable. I'm thinking like hospitable, but I can't get the word out. All right, anyway, planets around nearby stars. And third, it could search for industrial pollution in the atmosphere of planets. Industrial pollution, that's interesting. Okay. Do scientists have any idea what sound a dodo made? There's a TV commercial that features a dodo sounding like a chicken. I don't remember that commercial. I always get asked this question. I don't think that's a good way to start an answer to a question. Like, you are not thinking outside the box. And the answer is still open to debate. Dutch Freelanders in Mauritius called the bird Doderson. Englishman Thomas Herbert, who visited Mauritius in 1629, was the first to use the name dodo. Many pigeons have two-syllable oh cry. Oh, like oh, yeah, okay. Which gets louder and deeper as the bird matures. So it's possible Herbert created a version of the Dutch word that mimicked a two-syllable bird call. So it was like do, 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 do. Okay, there you go. Supercharge your health with antioxidants. Palm wonderful. Well, there we go. Smithsonian.